Hey, look, the moon.
But on a serious note, as my life falls apart, I analyze the world, I analyze myself, I analyze everything. Nobody's going to see this video tomorrow and change things, but here goes. Rent in Canada is extremely high. Disability in Canada is extremely low. Ontario Works is extremely low for the people that can't find jobs. And, I don't want to hear your BS on blaming them for, the problems of society. You know, Nobody's going to wake up tomorrow and see this video and say the banks need to play fair, the government needs to play fair. Nobody's going to wake up and see this video tomorrow and say home prices have to come down. We need to combat homelessness, drug use, and all of that. And nobody's going to wake up tomorrow and see this video and say, hey, you know why people use drugs? Because the world is not a happy place anymore. The more unhappy this world is, the more things like drug abuse, alcohol, all that kind of stuff gets worse. Uh, Nobody's going to wake up tomorrow and see this video and say the government of Canada needs to change or the world needs to change. Nobody's going to wake up and say charging people 35% interest on credit cards is ridiculous, or mortgages, or nobody's going to say that inflating home values and building apartment buildings is going to solve anything, because that's not going to solve anything. Nobody's going to watch this video and understand that we need more houses, more family values, less working hours, more attention to detail, and just generally we need to make the world a more happy place. Nobody is going to wake up and see this video and understand what is going on in my head. Nobody is going to wake up and see this video and understand what's going on in this world. I don't know if there's some sort of uh, grand idiocy, like everything in the world, all the differences, everything we have has created a grand idiocy, which is a cloud of illusion disturbance that people can't see through. But if we don't start fixing the things that are wrong now, we're just making it worse. There's this grand illusion that needs to be dissolved. There's things that need to be talked about in public forums. There's things that need to be done. There's the drug crisis, homelessness, the value proposition of houses and apartment buildings, and how it's driving an industry of greed that's really not helping anyone. How is it helping someone to chop up a beautiful home into apartments? How is it helping someone to make it so expensive on property tax and mortgages and that nobody can buy a home? We weren't all supposed to be renting. We weren't all supposed to be paying long, big mortgages. They were supposed to be houses built at a cheap, fair price so people could buy them and live in them. We weren't supposed to be overtaxed on water. We weren't supposed to be paying the bills to run the bank. We weren't supposed to be paying $15.95, $20.95, whatever you're paying to keep the lights on at the bank. That was the bank's responsibility. They did that so they could have the honor of keeping our money so they could use it to invest and make money. Uh, the whole system is cattywampus. The electric company, delivery fees. That's physics. So you're going to screw us. You're going to make us pay your bills to run your company and then ask us to pay ridiculous amounts of money for your power or your water or your gas. You're literally going to walk away with all the profits at the end of the year, so that you have to come back to us and say, hey, we got to put all these service fees and this fee and that fee on it. So you're basically paying to run the companies. The absolute pure lunacy of society. The government not even being able to make its own money. This is a giant country with tons of value, and it could be way more valuable. We could have way more industry. We could have way more everything. But our government would rather dig us in financial debt than make this country valuable here and around the world. So I really don't know where this grand illusion is coming from. I can't stand being on ODSP. I think it's the equivalent to somebody that is suicidal. I think dealing with the depression and everything that comes with being on the Ontario Disability Support Program here in Canada is the equivalent emotional damage to someone walking around who is suicidal. The only difference is we want things to get better. They're trying to find a way out, but I think it's a damn near equivalent of how it feels to be trapped in this system. To think that I'm going to have to live off $1,271, I'm going to lose my apartment, cats, stuff, and like the cheapest things we can find in Sudbury is $800 to live in somebody else's house. And I have disabilities that even preclude that because I have night terrors. I can't live in somebody else's house like that. I could walk around in my sleep and do God knows what. It's not even safe. But do I get extra rent from disability to keep my home? No, I don't. I'm told tough shit that, that's not recognized under disability for any sort of special benefit. So, you know, the world is crazy. My life is crazy. Everything's falling apart. Nobody's doing anything. Everybody's ripping everybody off. At the end of the day, the rich people are walking out of this country with the money and spending it elsewhere. They're basically making promises to go stay at places and resorts and stay on ships to other countries that our country is going to take back that money and do more work for them. So what are we doing? They're double drawing our debt. Not only did we owe them everything, we paid their salary and their bonuses, and they walk away with all this money, but they go spend that money in another country, where then that country has our money and expects things back from us again. So we get taxed by the government when we buy stuff. We get taxed at the government at the end of the year. We get taxed by the power companies, the banks, the CEOs, all of that. And then they walk out of this country and they spend it elsewhere, making promises that our country's going to do more. Nobody's going to watch this video this far in. Nobody's going to hear this. And anybody that does, like, or comment, or share, or dislike, or anything. Don't even have to do them all. Just do one of them. Because I would like all of this to change. But I feel like the chances of this changing are the chances of me staring up at the moon and it exploding. I think the chances are 0. Googleplex of zeros, 1%. So whatever a Googleplex 0.0 is, 0.1 or whatever you want to call it, I think that's the chance of things actually changing. The same chance that I'd stare up the moon right now and it would explode, which it's not, so, you're pretty safe up there, Mr. Moon, for now. Just for now. Watch out for Elon, he might be coming for you. Yeah, don't hide behind the Scarlet Runner bee. So, my problem with the world is we can all plainly see this, yet nobody's out on the streets rioting. Nobody is calling the government. Nobody's picking up their phone and calling Doug Ford's office saying, if you guys don't do something about disability soon, these people are going to start being homeless. I don't want to be homeless. I'm not living in somebody else's apartment for $800. And if the cheapest thing I can find is like $1,270 plus utilities, I think I'm a little bit screwed. I think an emergency situation is warranted. So if you want to call the Sudbury Disability Office and tell them about my situation, I'd be happy about it. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. Same chances of, the moon exploding from my vision. And this doesn't even scratch the surface of what's wrong with this world. Like, I haven't even touched on the hospitals here in Ontario. Like, Sudbury is a death factory. We had an opioid crisis downtown. We have a graveyard of crosses from all of that. I've got friends in there. We have a disability crisis where a lot of people on disability over the past 10 years have committed suicide. They're gone. And nobody's shining any light on it. Nobody, they're literally shoving all of that information under the rug. Anytime somebody on disability commits suicide, it's not like they say on the obituary that, oh, poor Charlie committed suicide because of how bad disability was. But trust me, if people were more honest about that kind of shit, we'd have a lot more ammunition to stop this shit from happening in the future. So, and it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy that nobody pays any attention to this shit. Nobody wants to change it. Nobody makes the phone calls. Nobody makes the videos. Nobody does any of that. I plan on posting this to my YouTube channel and to Mr. Doug Ford's Facebook and Mr. Justin Trudeau's Facebook. And I might just repost it over and over and over and over and over for whatever amount of time over the next while I can. I really want this world to change. There's so many things that, a capitalist society doesn't take account for. And there's so much lying that has happened that I don't know if you guys know what the truth is anymore, because it's really hard to analyze everything when the world has made sure you're wearing a pair of shit face goggles that makes sure you can't tell up from down. Because we got people out there that think we live on a flat planet, but round moon, not flat. Tidal lock to our planet. Can't tidal lock to a disk in space. I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. There's this little thing called angular momentum of gravity and shear against the fabric of the planet and space and time and everything else that it's touching that we have no freaking clue about. Because, like, I could be pointing this up at the moon right now, and there could be an alien ship right there, but we ain't gonna see it. I'm sure if they made it this far, they're able to cloak themselves. I'm sure me panning the camera around like this, somewhere in this footage, there's probably some physical data of aliens. It's crazy to think about, but that's just the spectacle that this planet is. I'm sure somebody found us by now, and they're like intensely watching, and this is the best show they've ever seen. It's kind of like the South Park episode. So it's really funny because, like, South Park does more to help change the world than most people do. Their jokes aren't just jokes, people. Their jokes are an intimate look at society and everything that's wrong with it and the exaggeration of it. And sometimes it's not even an exaggeration. Sometimes they have to tone down, due to the FCC, and the thing they were referencing in real life was just much more whacked out than that. But yeah, so my little rant, my little spiel, maybe me just dumping my guts out for fun, because I really don't think this video is going to get seen by more than about, we'll say, I'd be surprised if it's seen by more than 25 people in the next 10 years. How about that? So, it's not like I expect this to change. It's not like I expect the world to change. It was foolish of me to ever think any of you could ever be perfect. It was foolish of me to ever think that this world could be perfect, or that anybody really gives a damn, or anybody really knows how to act like a community anymore. Because we've built pretty good walls up around everything. We've built barriers, we've built obstacles. We could all learn from a children's park where it's all fun and accessible and easy, and if you can't make a world that mirrors that exact mentality, what worthless beings are we all? My faith was misplaced in you all. My trust was misplaced in you all. I know better now. I'm going to try to move forward in my life without anger, because it has clouded me some. Although you've all given me very good reason to be angry at some point or another. I see I have held the world too high, and that is exactly why I've fallen so low every time. Because I've always expected everyone else to be perfect, even though I've known they were flawed. I guess I was brought up in a way where my goggles were a little different than all of yours. But I'm taking the goggles off now. I can see the world for what it is. It's a cold, lonely place where people don't know how to trust, where people don't know how to be friends, where people don't know how to be families, where governments don't know how to take care of citizens, where citizens don't know how to take care of governments. We've been brought up in an institutionalized, over-serialized, I can't even call it a society, I'll call it messy conglomerate of greed, hate, and love. That we have lost the way so far that people go homeless and people go hungry. People go drug-riddled and insane. where the most important people on this planet charge $160 plus an hour for the one thing we all need for our brain. If it weren't for the greeds of everyone else, would they so charge the same? For the people that need the help are usually the sick, the broken, and the lame. They cry through their tears on the homeless streets they see. In the broken homes they are left with nothing to see. With the psychiatrists they need so far out of reach. Life like a knife as it reach their throat. Do not cry. Do not suffer. Turn your back on one another. For if psychiatry and therapy were free, would we all be locked in our head and so lonely? Good night, folks.